Hi and welcome. I feel like I'm preaching to the choir. All of you have been here volunteering, and I can't tell you anything new, I don't think. I don't think there's any way I can tell you anything new about this place, but that's good, I guess. I was hoping we'd see some new faces that have never been here before. You've never been here, have you? Pat? No? Pat's never been here. Don, you okay? Good, okay. So I don't know what all we want to accomplish today, but I guess one of the things that Don asked me to do is kind of review some of the history of the place and maybe what we're doing today, and this is totally off my cuff. I mean, I had nothing prepared, but I happen to just be able to talk sometimes, so I'll talk. So, we do have a nice video that your daughter produced, actually. That's real nice, about a 6-minute video that we show to a lot of people that come here. Yeah, it's just kind of a review of what we do and where we're at, and things have changed a lot, as you know, in the last 4 years since we more or less divorced from Maine winter sports. I don't know if that's the right word or not, but separated. Maybe that's a better word. Yeah, the divorce is too severe. Yeah, things have changed a lot here as far as what we're doing as a mission and how we're involving the community and all that. It's been an interesting 4 years. I've been very involved since I sold the dealership and all that, and this has kind of been my passion in my life, I guess, for the last 4 years. So it's been fun. Thank God I have it, and thank God Dad's got it, and we're very involved and we love it, you know. So it's fun. But I think what I'll do is just show this first, and then I'll just talk about history. This kind of talks about what we do today. If you were coming here from Portland, and we had, I don't remember, over the holidays we always have a lot of people up here from Portland, and we always show people this. And this summer we had several people in too. I don't remember who it was, but I know who it was. During Bike Maine, we had all kinds of people. We had, I think we put 200 people through here during that event, and we'd show them this, and we'd take them out to the range, and we'd let them shoot, and they were so excited. I mean, they were really, really, interested. So I assume that we're going to get some more from that, because most of those people were from Southern Maine. I mean, I think it was about 40-50%. There was quite a few from out of the state, but actually, no. Typically, it's 40-50% in Bike Maine, but this year there was more from Maine because a lot of them had never been to Aroostook County before, so they said, well, let's go to Aroostook County. And I just got a really nice email from the organizers again yesterday, and your name's on that too. Eventually, you're going to get an email asking you to volunteer, but they were thrilled to come here. They were really, really thrilled to come here. So anyway, so I'll go ahead and play this. If you haven't seen it, if you have seen it, you'll see it again. It's only 6 minutes, so, but it's, again, this was Sylvia that put this together. She did a bang-up job with it. I'll get out of the way. Did that work? No. That didn't work. Okay. Okay. There she is. Love that hat, huh? The teenage carpenter there. Huh.
Good shot, though.
So that's our promo film. So thank you, Sylvia, for doing that. She did a great job. And it kind of encapsulates everything that we do. I mean, in a quick 5-minute deal, you know.
It's the one that's putting the music, I think.
Was that right? Kurt did the music? Okay, between the two of them, they're a pretty talented group. So just a little bit of history. I mean, or well, where we're at today. At one time, we were funded by the Libra Foundation, as most of you know. We really created this as a place to train biathletes and Nordic skiers at one time, and I got involved. This was back in '97 when I was still doing community development before I even owned the dealership. I had heard that the Biathlon Association of the United States was looking for a training center somewhere in the Northeast to train biathletes, and I had heard they had visited Loring Air Force Base. So I kind of got my ear going on this, and I said, what the heck are they going to Loring for? That's as flat as a pancake. They have no community there. They have a bunch of old rusty buildings. What the heck are they going to do to train athletes there? It doesn't make sense. So anyway, I contacted the USBA, Max Cobb at the time, and he was in Vermont at the time where his office was, and I went and visited him. I said, why are you guys even thinking of doing this? Why don't we do it in a community that has some skiing culture and some skiing, and they were looking for a place with dependable snow. As we all know, even back then, we were having problems with snow down in Vermont and southern New England, and that's really what they were looking for, is a community that would support skiing and a place that had dependable snow. Those were the two features they really wanted. And they were looking at Loring because everyone was looking at Loring to put whatever they could in those buildings. And they wanted to put an Olympic speed skating oval in there. And, you know, who was the governor at the time? Was that King at the time? I think it was King at the time, yeah. King came up there and visited, and they came together with Owen Wells and Lieber, and they're all trying to figure out, what are we going to do at this place? Well, why don't we do something for Olympic training? So anyway, we had a couple meetings there and gave a couple presentations about what Fort Kent could do, and then we brought Owen Wells up here, and he happened to be at Lonesome Pines one day when we had a high school state meet, or not a state meet, it was just a normal meet, you know, anything that we'd have for a high school in the middle of January, I think it was. And he looked around and he was kind of scoped it all in, and I took him into the wax room where all the kids were waxing and having a good time, and he looked at me and he said, Carl, this is what skiing's all about, you know, this is really what we need to be doing. And that's, after that, his mind clicked, and he said, we need to be in a community like this. Then there was a discussion between here and Stockholm and all these other places, and they made the decision they'd create 2 centers. But they were really for training athletes, not necessarily community centers, and that's where we've evolved from that point to today is quite different. They also got involved in downhill skiing by buying Black Mountain in Rumford and then buying Big Rock in Mars Hill. So they got those 2 facilities plus the 2 in Alpine. We had a board of 9 people, and we kept managing all this, and hired Andrew Shepard, and things started progressing and spending a lot of money at a lot of places, and they got to a point where they were losing money on the Alpine areas, and they said, geez, you know, we can't sustain this. They were spending too much money trying to support those facilities. So they spun off the Alpine areas, and this was in 2000, I want to say 12 about. So we started this in 98, and that goes to 2012. So almost 14 years they were involved with all 4 facilities. And then in 2014, they made the decision that they would like to spin off the 2 Nordic areas as well. That was the decision, we'll just get rid of those. So I spoke up at a meeting and I said, there's no way these Nordic areas can live. An alpine area, you can charge people to come ski. But a Nordic facility like this, you can charge somebody, maybe $5-10 or something like that. There was no way the budget could sustain the cost to keep this place going. So they said, okay, we'll give you 2 years to survive. Give you 2 years of some funding. What they do is they fund us with $50,000 a year at that time is what we estimated it would cost to keep the heat on and groom the trails and pay taxes, and they've always paid taxes in all the communities they're at. So that's what the estimate was. So they said, we'll give you that for 2 more years. So we started down that road and we said, well, we got to change the model. This can't survive on just a couple athletes from Minnesota and New York and southern Maine. There's no way this place will survive if that's all we're doing. We need to create really a Nordic destination for people to come ski that really like to ski, snowshoe, and then try to do something in the summer too, try to find a way to support it financially. So we created several different programs, started selling memberships. We had never sold a membership or charged anyone to ski here before 2014. Today we have almost 350 members, where we had none in 2014. And the membership keeps growing every year, so it's really nice to see that. We started doing the snowshoe element of what we do here. We started doing a lot more events instead of these big world-class events, these World Cups, which you can either break even, lose money, or make a lot of money. So it's real risky. It's hard to say what's going to happen with that. And the bar that the Europeans have set now for these facilities to host World Cup facilities is so high, it's almost like the Olympics. The last Olympics they spent $50 billion at in Russia. Well, nobody wants to host them anymore. That's kind of like us. The cost to get to a point where we could host a World Cup and have the hospitality we need, really, it doesn't make sense to even go after them anymore. So we said, well, let's go after regional events. Let's go after Nordic cross-country events instead of biathlon, where you can have more participants. Instead of having 50 people come here to participate, you can have 300-400 participate. And all of a sudden, they become lucrative events. This year we have 2 or 3 significant events where we'll make money at every one of them, and that helps offset all the cost of operation here. So we're doing that, as well as trying to get more people involved, as you saw, in family programming, youth programming, snowshoeing, summer events, bicycling. The other thing we're trying to do right now is the next project will be disc golf for the summer. So it's a matter of trying to keep the place occupied all year. The guys at the golf course are very excited about this. This is, typically people in their 20s and 30s that really enjoy this. And this is throwing a disc into a basket, just like a golf course. They're going to have 18 holes out here on the trail system. So we'll see some activity, start developing that next summer. So it's a matter of developing uses that the general public will want to use and hopefully pay for. That's really what we're trying to do. So it's been a long evolution over the last 4 years, but we seem to be getting really good traction as far as attracting new members and getting people involved. So what do we do here? I had no idea who was going to be here today, so obviously I just brought some props out here to talk about biathlon a little bit, but you all know something about biathlon, or quite a bit about biathlon, I guess. These are the rifles we use in biathlon. And I know you've got this tape, so maybe I'll say a few things about it, Don, because there will be some people that don't know anything about biathlon, I'm sure. So, as you can see, we have a 30-point range out here, and there's about, let's see, how many are there? 6 of them in North America now that have 30-point range. They're not too many, but they keep growing. There's another one that was built in Casper, Wyoming last year. There's one in Craftsbury, Vermont. They're going to be building about a 20-point range. Won't be quite this big, but big enough to host any competition we'd ever want to. We have a competition coming up in January 19th and 20th, called a NORAM competition. There's 6 of them around the country. First one just happened in Calgary, Alberta, this last weekend, and they'll be coming here in about a month, 6 weeks from now, I guess, something like that. So the sport of biathlon is how many targets you can hit out of 5. Obviously, they're 50 meters away. It's a very small target. It's about this big, and this is about the size of, we call this 12.5 centimeters, I believe it is, when you're in the standing position. And you have a .22 rifle that you use. This is what's normal biathlon rifle. This is what it looks like. You have 5 shots to hit 5 targets. If you miss a target, you're going to ski a penalty loop. That's what basically the deal is. We have a sprint race, we have a pursuit race, we have a mass start. There's several different formats. The simplest is a sprint race where you come in and you shoot once in a prone position. You have 5 shots to hit 5 targets. If you miss a target, you go ski a 150-meter penalty loop out there. Pretty exciting sport. We have some really good athletes now in the United States that are competing at the highest level and almost getting an Olympic medal last year. We had a world champion the year before who came from Lake Placid, New York, Lowell Bailey. So we're making great strides as Americans, but there's not huge budgets to support all this. It's interesting. These guys aren't NBA stars by a long shot. But once they get to that level, they can probably make $100,000 a year in sponsorships and that type of thing, but that's about it. But there's maybe 3 or 4 athletes in the United States that can do that. So it's a tough road as an athlete to want to do this sport. The chance of success is tough, and the chance of doing anything financially rewarding is very tough too. So you got to be somebody that's just dedicated to doing hard work and taking a lot of risk. Really, sometimes I look at some of these guys that are training for 10 years and I say, why are they doing that? It's just not something that's going to ever have a future payout, but I think it's just the satisfaction of doing something very difficult very well. I think that's what it is, but I'm not sure. I can't get inside their heads sometimes. But right now I'm doing a lot of training with young athletes with this. They love it. We really started a program again this year. We got about 12 very active young athletes that are skiers that are really having a good time with it. They come out every Saturday, and they're going to be competing in about 3 events, all from age 8 to about 16, about that age. We'll be going to Quebec City just after Christmas for our first competition for a lot of these kids, so it's going to be fun. So that's my goal, is to get the youth involved. It's great to have these big events where you have these Europeans come over and all that, but really one of the things I think that we missed over the last 15 years is we really didn't get a lot of the local youth involved, and that's really what I'm trying hard to do. We have a gal in town that's living at the Jalbert House now in town. Phyllis Jalbert is supporting a residence in town for visiting athletes. Well, now without Maine Winter Sports, we don't have so many visiting athletes. So there's a gal there that's a nursing student. Her name's Hannah Strines, who has been doing biathlon for several years. She's about to graduate, and we want to hire her here to be our biathlon coach, not full-time, but part-time, as well as be a nurse. So she's real excited about doing this. So that'll be really helpful for our youth programming. What else is going on in biathlon? So we have an event. We have a lot of kids involved, practicing every Sunday. This wasn't happening over the last couple of years, so that's why we're kind of reinvigorating that. And hopefully these kids, they enjoy the sport. But again, where are they going to go? It's not something like an NBA progression where you're going to make millions of dollars in years. It's really just something that you're going to enjoy. And hopefully, I think part of the reward is these kids get a really good chance to travel the world. That's the other thing. They see a lot and they get exposed a lot. Cody Johnson's the one right now that we see as the most successful from Fort Kent. We've probably had 4 or 5 athletes throughout the years that have gone to junior world championships over in Europe. And
they need to find sponsors, don't they, Kyle?
They do.
They find their own sponsors.
Yeah. These kids, there's no other place. I mean, Cody ended up signing up for the National Guard because he couldn't afford to do it anymore. That's what happened with him. And now they've supported him really well. He was just in Canada. He's going to be in Europe in another month here. So without that, because you don't have enough time to work when you're training all the time. That's part of the problem. So that's the training side of what we do. Beyond that, we hold a lot of local events. Some of you have seen the ski joring event. That was kind of an extension of Can-Am. Alan Dow, your husband, approached us and said, geez, we got all these people in town. What can we do to keep them in town and keep them engaged in dog sledding? We started the ski joring event. That's starting to get some traction, some momentum. We've got a great group from Quebec that comes up every year, and they bring more of their friends all the time. They say it's the best trails they've ever skied on, because usually in ski joring they go down a snowmobile trail somewhere out in the field, and it's really rough and they really have a hard time. They're on skate skis and they're going fast, so they really need a well-groomed trail, and they love these trails. They absolutely love them. So now they want us to host I can't remember exactly the name, but it's International Federation of Sled Dog Sports World Championships. They'd like us to host it in the next couple of years. We discussed it at our board meeting last couple nights, and they talk about 200 to 300 participants coming to town over a week period, and we say, oh my God, how are we going to handle all this? We're starting to think about it. How could we handle it? I don't know yet, but we'll get some answers. The gal that's in charge of this comes from Colorado. She's going to come here during our ski joring event this year and kind of look it over, see whether or not it's something that would work. Last time they do it every 2 years. Last time was in France, and the year before, 2 years before that was in Norway. So it travels around the world, and they haven't done it in North America yet. So they heard about us, what we were doing in ski joring. A couple of the people in Quebec started talking about how great things were here and all that. So it's a possibility, but again, these big events, they're good for the week, but are they really good for the community and the youth in the community? I think you have to have a balance. That's really the key. If all we do is focus on big events, you lose track of the membership and the kids that are they're trying to progress.
Mostly
Housing.
Housing.
Our typical problem, yeah, that would be the biggest. And 200 to 300 participants, how many dogs does that mean you have? I mean, that's a lot of dog poopy above and beyond the Can-Am, that's a lot of dogs, so I don't know where you'd house all that, and so there's a lot of logistics we'd have to work on to even make sense with it, but they're very interested in it. We'll see what happens, And in that event, they go from a 1-dog ski joring class all the way up to 6 dogs and a sled. So it's a wide spectrum of events, and the longest race, I believe, is around 10 kilometers, so it's really what they call a sprint race, not like Can-Am at all, which is an endurance race, quite a bit different athletes involved and dogs that are involved. The dogs, I don't know if you've seen, I think we saw a few of them there. They're very, very different than a normal sled dog. I'll just bring one out here right quick. This is the guy that's the fastest guy in Quebec right now. His name's Michael Rioux. Really, really nice guy. But look at his dog. I mean, it looks like a little greyhound. Looks like a little greyhound race dog. It's a totally different class of dogs that they race for these. So pretty neat, though. I mean, he and I went out with his dogs after the race. I said, I want to try one of these. I'd been going with my pet, and I basically drag her along. She doesn't drag me at all. And they're phenomenal. There's so much. I've never had so much fun on a pair of skis. I mean, incredible how fast and how powerful they are. They don't look powerful, but they can pull you right up our steepest hills. I mean, it's amazing, really. So it's a fun sport. It's a new niche. I think it's a niche for us that most cross-country areas in New England don't serve at all. But, it doesn't serve a lot of our local populace. It's just a niche event where we haven't made a lot of money with it at all yet. So maybe in the future as we grow it, we might. So just we're looking at different areas that we could expand our services and different sports we can do. But right now, one of our best events right now is our New Year's Nordic Festival. The day after Christmas to New Year's, basically we invite a lot of the ski teams from southern Maine to come up. You've been here. It's busy. And it keeps growing every year. The high school ski teams come up because they want to train on snow because
They pay to be here?
Absolutely.
Now, all the races that you have, the regular school races, all the schools, or does Fort Kent pay you also?
Fort Kent does, yes. Fort Kent pays for the use of the facility, and they pay us now when we're doing events too. So we have a charge that we're charging them for that. But the high schools that come up during the New Year's festival, we rent them wax rooms. We charge them daily passes. So, the whole event is lucrative, but it exposes a lot of people to the facility, and it just keeps growing. I mean, because every time they come up, they've had great snow, and that's really what they're looking for. This time of year, they don't have snow down there. I mean, they had a little bit and they've already lost it. So, the ones that had it down there. So that early season niche is very important to us, and then March is very important. We always have an event in March, because by that time, southern New England is starting to lose their snow. So that's our claim to fame, is still dependable snow and friendly volunteers. I mean, that's biggie. That's big for them, They keep coming up here, and I keep hearing on the way, geez, those people are so friendly up there. I've heard that in so many events that we've hosted, and I've been to a lot of places where that doesn't happen. I won't name names, but you go there and people aren't that friendly or not that accommodating. They don't want you there, it seems like, it's sad, But it seems like every time we do it, we want them, so anyway. So, the future, I think we'll continue to do regional and national events. This year we'll do a an Eastern High School Championships in March, 15th through the 17th. We expect 250 athletes from all the New England states, as well as the Maritimes is going to send a team over from Prince Edward Island and New Brunswick. They're going to put a team together, a bunch of biathletes that we've been working with here this summer, actually. And by the time we're done with that, that'll be 400 people in town for probably 4 days. Yeah, 4 nights, because they'll be here in practice, and then they'll go beyond that. So that's our biggest event for the year. There's a super tour going on in Presque Isle. We're quite more closely linked to Presque Isle than we used to be now. We're coordinating a lot on events to make sure we don't do too much here and too much there, and try to balance it. They have a event the week after us, or it's 2 weeks after us, called a super tour, which is the best athletes in the world will be there actually for 4 days as well. So we got a lot going on in March, and we're using the facilities the best we can, as well as everything we're doing every week to just help the youth. Tonight you'll see we've got like 25 kids on the high school team now, and almost that many on our middle school team. They're huge. Our teams have really grown again, and it's very active. Just come up here in a couple hours and you'll see kids running all over the place. It'll be very noisy in here in actually in an hour, 3 o'clock they're up here. So we're busy. So I don't know what else. Questions? Mapping. We've got some great maps now of the facility. We've done quite a bit to expand the snowshoe circuit this year. We have a couple new volunteers that have helped us expand snowshoes. I don't know how many miles are in here now. Pat, my wife, is the one that does all this. I really can't tell you snowshoe trails.
On your video, it said 10.
Yeah, it's probably, and we added another couple miles on Bob and Jan's Michaud land this year. Really nice trails in there. And the same thing with the cross-country trails. We did a lot of work with our cross-country trails on the Red Barn side to expand them. We have competitive trails over here, but now these trails will also be used for competition as well. So we now have really good competition trails, I'd say about 15 kilometers, and then our total trail system is about 25 kilometers. That's including what's going on in Violet Settlement. One thing that's becoming more and more popular is summer skiing, and we've got one of the best roller ski loops. This happens to be a picture in Jericho. It's Summer Roller Ski Biathlon. They have a very big event there in August, and we're going to be trying to get this same event here next year on our roller ski loop. So that's becoming very active as New England loses their snow. Now they're actually having more competitions in the summer, so it's almost year-round in many ways. This is what's being used for training primarily, but now it's becoming competitive in the summer as well. So that's expanding a fair amount as well. So that's the direction we're going. We're starting to be sustainable. Libra is still helping us from time to time with, like we bought a groomer last year. We raised, I'd say 70% of the funds, and Libra helped us with 30% of the funds. So when we do go to them for some capital projects, they are occasionally helping. They love what's going on here now. They're spending very little money, and there's a lot going on, a lot of volunteerism. They never saw that before when they were directly involved. So they're very, very happy, and because of that, I think they'll continue to support us for years to come. So I hope so.
Now, do you have someone in charge here? I mean, caretaker?
Yeah, you're looking at them. Your husband, you look at them every night. I would say there's a core group of 4 or 5 people that are here every day. There is a person hired, yeah. There's a person, Mark Shea is hired. We made the decision this year, there was so much going on in Presque Isle because they had to modify their trail system extensively to host this event, that he would really spend 99% of his time down there. He's supposed to be spending 50-50. He hasn't spent a lot of time here other than events. He lives in Caribou. He used to be a Maine Winter Sports employee, I don't know, 8-9 years ago, something like that. But he is spending time, and as we get done with that event, then he'll have more time to spend 50-50. So he does a fair amount of marketing for us. Right now, he's just directing the construction down there because there's so much. There's still an excavator there today, actually, building trails. So we're trying to get it done, but it's just been a long process. Trail widening, changing the routing of the trails. As we go and host these events, the people that certify and approve our trail systems, they keep raising the bar, as I was talking about. So things change all the time. 2 years ago, we spent 2 summers modifying our whole trail system, and most of it was widening and kind of changing the layout of how the trails were. that won't stop. That'll continue. So.
You have the bicycle.
Yes, we're doing a lot, excuse me, thank you for reminding me, we did a lot of work with mountain bike trails this summer. I didn't even mention that. This summer, huge effort with a lot of volunteers, and that's going to continue. We're hoping to, right now we have about 4 miles of really good single track. We're hoping that'll double next summer, I believe, and most of it going off towards the Skito. Once we get enough of that, hopefully we can hold some summer events. So here in Edmundston and Presque Isle, those would be kind of 3 areas where people could come visit and bike on all 3 of those. So that's hoping that will become a destination eventually between the 3 of those. So we'll see. We'll keep pushing at that. And a lot of used little excavator this summer, and there's volunteers that come out here a couple nights a week at least, a bunch of kids and adults, and they're really doing a great job, really moving. Your son-in-law is kind of leading that charge, so that's really a good one. Yep. So we're trying to do a lot of things.
You have somebody in here on Saturday who cleans and does...
We're about to hire somebody for the period throughout the holidays. So it's kind of a temporary thing. We don't have somebody, we're looking for somebody to do exactly what you're talking about on the weekends, be open, 12 to 3 every Saturday, Sunday, but we're going to do 9 to 4 throughout, starting, I think it's December 15th through mid-January. So we'll have somebody here every day because it's becoming very busy. We've expanded our rental shop significantly, and a lot of people trying skate skiing, and we're getting a lot more traffic in the rental shop now than we used to have, so we need to have somebody here. You've been here on some of the dull days, but it's really picked up. Julie was here the other day. She said it was absolutely nonstop. Just people picking up skis and renting skis.
What are the fees for the rentals?
I don't know all of them off the top of my head. I know the trail pass fees, but the rentals, it's somewhere around $10 if I remember correctly, and I don't remember the snowshoe fee. I think it's $6, something like that per day. Approximately, I could be wrong on that, but close to that, So we've got a ton of snowshoes, different type snowshoes that are available. This is something with a little bit deeper snow. These are great. We just got these last year. They're really, they look kind of funny, but they're really functional. And very easy to put off and on, and these are for the little tykes, So we got everything from somebody that's 2 years old to all of us that can fit on all these, and they're really good shoes. So we've got, I would say, almost 60 pairs of snowshoes now. And for large groups, every now and then we get some large groups from the university or some other groups that come out that want to, if you can walk, you can snowshoe. That's the beauty of it. It's a lot different than skiing, where you have to be a little bit athletically inclined and have good balance, and you start moving and people get a little scared to do that. But this is a new set of I would guess we have about 40 pairs of skate skis now that we just brought in this year. We really didn't have a good selection of that. A lot of people are wanting to skate ski now, younger people. It's really fast and athletic, and it's a lot of fun once you get the hang of it. Getting the hang of it's a little bit challenging, but we're going to do some lessons this year for adults to try to get more people on them, but they're beautiful skis. They really work well, and this is a skate boot. And of course, we've got the classic stuff as well, non-wax as well as waxable. I would guess we have probably 80 pairs of classic skis down there, so have a really good rental shop. Starting from nothing 3-4 years ago, it's really expanded a lot. And that's an area that Pineland Farms helped us a lot. I haven't said much about Pineland Farms. Pineland Farms down in New Gloucester is affiliated with Libra and us as well. Matt Sebastiansky is the manager down there. Matt's very involved with us here. I talk to him at least 3 or 4 times a week. They have a large cross-country facility down there as well. They do a huge volume with people just in the Portland area. Their problem is they don't have snow. They have people, they don't have snow. We have tons of snow and not as many people. So if we could put the two together, we'd have a real winner, I'll tell you. But they put tons of people through there on a normal weekend. And what they do is they'll use their skis for a couple of years, then they give them to us. So we haven't had to go out and buy these. It's really been great. It's been a great partnership for us. And they've been helpful with other equipment as well. They gave us an ATV that they used for 3-4 years last year. And, so it's, again, a really good partnership. We're very fortunate to be aligned with both Libra and Pineland Farms, and what they've done, given us in the community here, 20 years ago. It's phenomenal when you think about it. When I look back, I said, God, how did all this happen? Just never expected that to happen. So, we need to take advantage of it as a community. That's the big thing, just make sure we're doing everything we can with it. And our volunteer base is phenomenal. I don't know how many volunteers we have here throughout the year, but it's got to be at least 40, 50 just involved with the facility. Never mind when we have a big event. All of you come out to support us in the events. And it's phenomenal. People want to be involved. It's good. It's nice to be outside during the winter and get involved with something like this where you're helping youth have fun and aspire to something and reach their goals. And I think people enjoy doing that. So. Other questions, Don? What else would you like to know?
How about the facilities themselves?
Yeah, okay. We built this lodge in 1998. I think that's about when we started, the winter of 98. It was built right through the winter. This lodge supports events. It supports daily skiing activity. It does get rented out from time to time to business meetings, weddings, I'd say we do that about 6 or 7 times a year, something like that. It's got a sauna in it. It's got showers in it. It's got a rental shop. Offices upstairs that really support events. I mean, we have an event. This is really a key building. Then we have a timing building out there that supports all of the event. When we got some complicated event going on with timing and whatnot, there's, 30 people out there after the end of the event when you're frozen and getting warmed up in there. That's Bill Loader's home. And home away from home. Yeah, he spends quite a bit of time. Thank God for Bill. He's been a real blessing for us. Then we have, of course, the biathlon range, the 30-point biathlon range, and then 3 kilometers of paved roller ski loop, which is one of only 3 in the country. A roller ski loop. I would say it's the second best loop. The one in Jericho, Vermont now is probably a little more challenging than this, but this probably appeals to more people, actually. It's really a great roller ski loop. And then we have a wax room with, I want to say 33 rooms. I think it's 30 to 33 rooms in it that we use for visiting teams when we have a big event, that they come in there and they kind of throw all their gear in there and then they start waxing skis, which is very unusual here in North America. You don't see that at very few facilities. Here in even the one in Soldier Hollow that had the Olympics had very temporary wax buildings. They didn't have that at all. So us in Presque Isle, we have these wax buildings. We're looking at converting some of those rooms into bunk rooms so that when visiting athletes come over here, they can be staying here on site, something reasonable where they can stay for a period of time. I'm hoping to do some of that this winter. I just have to get through all the certifications and approvals and all that process. It's taking a bit longer than I wanted it to take. And beyond that, we have a maintenance building where we keep our groomer and all our snowmobiles and ATVs and all that. And Alan's second home. That's his first home. Maybe it's first home. I don't know. He's always there. Oh, yeah. Always there. Yeah, so that's the buildings. I can't think of any. Well, we have a couple of buildings here around the biathlon facility that we store equipment to support the biathlon, but that's the facilities we have. Have room for parking. I think I calculated it's about 300 cars here on site. So during events, we have lots of parking that we plow out, and we expand that a little bit more into Mickey's Field when we need to down there. So facilities, about 25 kilometers of ski trails, and you saw on the slide, I would say it's probably 12 miles of snowshoe trails now. And bike trails, dedicated bike trails were around 4 miles of single track. You can bike all the cross-country trails. All of them can be bikeable, but the people that do a lot of mountain biking, they really want challenging single tracks. It's got bank turns and crazy whoop-de-doos and all this other stuff, Your son-in-law and your grandsons, they love that stuff. So that's what we have for facilities, yeah.
You have a limited number of ski storage rack up there too.
Yes, yeah. Unlimited, you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, unlimited.
If wants to leave their skis here, they can do that.
That's right, yeah, we have lockers up there in one of the locker rooms, and we're starting to see that here this year. Getting some lockers going up so people can come in and wax. We have a public waxing room up there that's all set up with ski forms, and then lockers right in there where they can store their skis if they don't want to carry them back and forth all the time. So, yeah. So, I don't know if anyone wanted to go snowshoeing. If you do, we have snowshoes downstairs. Don, you said you wanted to go. Francis wants to go. You ought to go explore some of those new trails that they have over by Bob and Jan's property over there. They're really nice. And I'm sure, I know people, every morning I come in here, I see a car or two in here early. People out there early going out around the snowshoe trails, and then throughout the day you see cars continuously. But I can come over here at 7 o'clock. Actually, the other morning I was here at 6:30 and there was already a car here and there was already tracks out. So people come out early and they
What's the
go.
name of the trail that goes, Jan and,
One of them's Bob's and one of them's Jan's. Honest to God, that's true. Yeah. Jan's Trail,
yeah?
Bob's Trail, right there. How about that? Should be easy, right?
And that starts out by the waxing?
What you do is go by the wax building and then you can see the trail. Kind of goes in the front of the wax building and then it goes down. You'll see tracks there. Yeah. Yeah, you can't.
Are they color-coded? Are the trails marked?
They're marked.
A yellow snowshoe
Little
marker.
tag.
Yeah, I've seen those, I've seen those.
And then there's numbers at every intersection.
Not the new trails, no.
Oh, not the new.
Yeah, the new trails have all been signed, so they're all up. But every intersection's got a number. So you really, once you come to the intersection, oh, where am I at? Look at the map, you go boom. And then many of them have signage that says which direction to go to. So pretty hard to get lost now. It was a little bit easier before, but
A period of time where
I've gotten lost.
Follow me or Pat, we're lost.
skis is easier than snowshoe trail. It's easier to get lost on skis. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm always lost.
Yeah, easier on skis than
If
snowshoes.
you do, you're only about 4 or 5 miles away from it.
You're gonna find the town or the river, right? One of the two. Just don't head off towards Wallagrass, then you're in trouble.
Just follow the sun.
Good luck with that one. Good luck with that one. But yeah, if you'd like to go for it. I don't know if you're dressed to go.
Yes.
Yes, yes. Good.
You can start
How about this guy?
I spent 2 hours snowballing last night.
Yeah.
No, please, we've got, if anyone needs snowshoes, we've got plenty of snowshoes. You going, Pat?
Yeah.
No, I forgot to bring my snowshoes.
Oh, it's just.
Hey, wait a minute, guess what? That excuse doesn't work. Doesn't work here.
I don't have a hat either. Oh,
Doesn't work at all.
Well, thank you very much, Carl.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Here, it's
Thank
because
you.
of you that we,
Thanks for coming, yeah.
so much.
Thanks for visiting again. Spread the word.